restore order in the gallery. Sergeant at Arms will restore order in the gallery.
Well, hello there. I'm Tim Waxerbaum. I'm a comedian, a podcaster, and karaoke singer from Chicago, Illinois. This episode is the 21st episode of my podcast called Scary Ideas. And it's a show that I do live. And, I call it Scary Ideas because I talk about stuff that's too spicy for normal people to handle. I stream this show on DLive TV every Saturday at 2 p.m. CST. Today we have a comedian calling in to talk about some political matters. And I will also be covering some weird conspiracy theories. So let's get right into the first one. And that is whether or not Hitler was gay. So according to Wikipedia, which is how I start a lot of topics on this podcast, according to Wikipedia, Adolf Hitler's sexuality has long been a matter of historical and scholarly debate. So they actually talked about it in colleges and stuff, not just like in the locker rooms and stuff. Like, this is a pretty high-minded thing we're getting into here, so there's evidence that he had relationships with a number of women, as well as evidence of his antipathy to homosexuality, and no evidence of homosexual encounters. Well, that answers that. I guess he wasn't. His name has been linked to a number of possible female lovers, 2 of whom committed suicide. Well, that's sketchy right there. A 3rd died of complications 8 years after a suicide attempt. And a 4th also attempted. Dude, what's with all the suicides of people who dated Hitler? It's not a good track record. Doesn't have anything to do with him being gay. But I'm just saying, it doesn't sound good. Doesn't sound good, my friend. He also had this image of being celibate. All right, let's just go to what YouTube has to say. I'm not going to speculate based on Wikipedia. We know that's a very biased source of information. So what's going on with this video? Was Hitler gay? There's no sound. Okay, there's sound, and it's completely inappropriate sound. What does this have to do with... How is this... This is too cheery. This music is too... Okay, great, it's in German. So it says he's a modern... I have to fucking translate... I have to tell you what it says on the video in case you're listening to the audio-only version of this podcast here. Whoa. I didn't mean to do that. All right. So this dude wrote a book, right? Called The Hidden Hitler. It's a cute name for a book. The Double Life of a Dictator. So, he's saying he lived a double life. That might be meaning he's on the side that he was a little bit gay or something. Not that it matters. I don't know why people care if he was gay or not, To be honest, I don't care at all. It'd be just some dead guy. So it's saying that women played a role or something. I don't know. The man was 37. Wait. He didn't. This is the worst video to be playing over a podcast. He wasn't a hermit or a loner. He lived in communities made up of men. Okay. I'll let him talk a little bit. There's a clip of Hitler. Then he was in a relationship with some dude named... Alright, this is the worst video to be playing. I didn't check what it was before. I mean, I was very dumb. I had plenty of time to review it, I guess, but I just didn't. Let's see what the Telegraph says about something sort of related to his sexuality. We'll see. They're zooming into a beer, a picture of a dude. So it's a video of a guy with a beer next to him. It looks like a very light beer.
Physician.
Yeah.
Used to give him a sort of booster shot.
A booster shot.
Rather like a Viagra of the period.
And
these were timed for Eva Braun's visits.
Wait.
And that still doesn't invalidate my theory that it was asexuality with a little bit of petty bourgeois version of, if you just lift your skirt a bit while I stay over here and you stay over there.
What the fuck? Okay, so this video is claiming that he was asexual with petty bourgeois perversion. And he's trying to explain that part right now. So he thinks he's asexual and has some kind of perversion. So let's hear him again. Let's hear him repeat that. I kind of didn't know what he was saying there.
If you just lift your skirt a bit while I stay over here and you stay over there, something might have gone on. But his perversion would have been a bourgeois perversion and not the incredibly filthy things attributed to him by the perversion school, who are obviously trying to get an objective correlative to the inner filth of Hitler. So they imagine coprophilia, coprophagia, etc. Certainly in a novel, when you create a character, even a historical character, it's one of the first things that you subconsciously know about them is how it goes in the bedroom. It would be frivolous to expect a man who was quite recently in a flop house in Vienna and is now the king of Europe. It would be frivolous to expect him to be as other men are.
I don't know what the hell this guy's droning on about, but I can't play it for any longer because I have nothing to say. And if you're not commenting on it, then it's technically you're not allowed to. It's copyrighted material, and I have to comment on it, or else it's not legal to just play it in its entirety. So that was a waste of time. All I get out of that is that somebody on the internet thinks Hitler was a weirdo. What a fucking shocker, dude. Cool. So we got people in the chat. We got someone calling in at some point. I told him in a few minutes, or I gave him a window to call in. So the next topic that we'll beautifully transition into, I'm going to save this one for maybe the end. That's too controversial right now. Actually, fuck it. This is related because we're talking about sexuality. So we're going to look at the controversial question of being if traps are gay, if you're a male, a straight male or something, and if you're attracted to a transgendered person, does that make you gay or what? And also all the other variations So let's just read a very quick glance at the Wikipedia article about this, because that's how we usually start with any subject. We broach the subject by consulting Wikipedia. So, sexual attraction to transgender people has been the subject of scientific study and social commentaries. So not scholarly commentary, just like locker rooms, like I was saying before. Just, wherever socializing happens, whether it's at a pool, at the water cooler, at the beach. So, anyway, psychologists have researched attracted to trans women, cross-dressers, non-binary people, or a combination of these. Cisgender men attracted to transgender women primarily identify as heterosexual, and sometimes as bisexual, but rarely as homosexual. Isn't that interesting? Actually, it's not. I mean, it's pretty makes sense to me. If you're that seems like that would be the norm. If you're a regular, like a cisgender dude, you know, born a male, identifies a male, you're fucking, and you're attracted to a trans woman. That's a woman, so that's why they would say hetero, because they're progressive. They're only the regressive ones, like the far right fucking bigots would say that it's homosexual. You know, I mean, so far this makes it's nothing shocking yet. So sexual arousal research, which it's an interesting type of research. I'm not going to get more into that. Just like, okay, that people research sexual arousal, okay, has confirmed that their response patterns are unlike those of gay men and resemble those of heterosexual men, except that they are highly aroused by transgender women in addition to cisgender women. Okay. So they're attracted to both. That makes sense. They just see them as women. They also show little arousal to men, dude. So there you go. That's conclusive. I think case closed, right? A substantial portion of cisgender men attracted to transgender women report autogynephilia. What the hell is that? Which is sexual arousal in response to the image of themselves as female. Okay, so if you're a straight dude, if you're a cis dude attracted to trans women, you also tend to be attracted to yourself as a female? I'm just trying to picture that, because I don't think I have ever thought of myself as female, dude. Would I be attracted? Okay, maybe I have. Every dude has probably thought for a minute, at least once, what would I be like what would I look like if I was a woman? And some of them, I guess, jerk off to that imagery or something, to that thought. They use their imagination. Eventually, you won't have to use your imagination. There will be like software that just shows. I mean, there already is software that makes you look like a woman. So there you go. That makes your face look like a woman. That's close enough. I mean, the body part, you could just, easily just Photoshop that on. So when that Snapchat filter came out, a lot of men who are into autogynephilia were happy. So I didn't know that. I didn't know people found that hot, like jerking off to themselves as a female or vice versa. But hey, that makes kind of some sense to me, I guess. There has been some discussion of attraction to trans men, but it has not been the topic of study. Why not? They're only studying trans women. Interesting. Anyway, and then another scientific study says that having sexual preference for transgender people is classified as paraphilia, which I forgot what that is. That's the intense sexual arousal to atypical object situations, fantasies. Interesting. So it has been. No, it is. It is classified as a paraphilia, but it's not diagnosable as a mental illness or paraphilic disorder. Well, that would be interesting if it was. But no, I think it's not, because it's just like being attracted to a woman. I don't know. Maybe there's a difference. So that's enough Wikipedia. That was sterile reading about it on there. And so let's read what this Daily Beast article has to say. I don't know. I feel like I don't know much about Daily Beast, but it sounds like it could be a right. Never mind. It's not. It's totally left leaning. Because it says right here, the article's called "The Ridiculous Straight Panic Over Dating a Transgender Person." This is from 4 years, from 3 years ago or something. The right-wing media froth that trans people are demanding straight men to date them. That's what the right-wing media does. They froth over this. No, we just want a nuanced discussion about why so many straight men feel shame about dating us. That's all this article is saying. So I'd rather watch a video, honestly, than read right now. So then here's another article that says, I'm tired of celebrating cis men who date trans women. Yeah, fuck cis men, dude. Tired of celebrating them, dude. Like, stop inviting us to your parties about your sex preference to date, you know? Yeah, you know? Yes, being trans attracted is a normal part of heterosexuality. But why is it wait, what? But why is heterosexuality normal? So this article is already going along with the assertion that it's totally straight. You're totally straight if you're trans attracted. All right, that's fine. I mean, I don't totally disagree with that. Just, you know, it's debatable, but so what? But why? So why is it normal to be hetero? That's what we're questioning here. So in a video, which I wish I was watching, right? Oh, it's about someone being harassed. Never mind. I don't want to watch that. I hate videos of people being harassed. The video circulated on Twitter for several days. Days later, the news broke that this guy died by suicide. See, that's not very nice of these people to bully him, you know. That's what leads to people. Sometimes people drive to suicide, dude. We could do a whole episode about suicide. About people being bullying leading to suicide. That's a good topic. Anyway, so this guy's death, Willowby's death, and the harassment that preceded it sparked a public conversation about the trauma and hardship faced by men who publicly made fun of it. Wait, so he was bullied for... I didn't read it. Oh, he was bullied for having a transgender girlfriend. He wasn't even the transgender person. He was dating somebody. He was a straight dude, I guess. And he killed himself over the trauma. So his suicide was framed as a sort of martyrdom. A call on straight men to overcome shame brought on by their trans attraction. And instead celebrate it. Yeah, I see nothing wrong with celebrating, being a little bit proud of it. I mean, but you're still straight, though. You don't get to say you're in the queer community. Or maybe that's where this is going. Let's see. So the queer media cites them. Wait, what? The queer media cite them even called... Oh, it's a site called Them. It just threw me off because it's not capitalized. It's just in italics. Them. Okay, so this media site called Them even called him a beacon of hope for those straight men attracted to and in relationships with trans women. Soon after, this dude, just some actor named Malik Yoba, announced that he too was trans attracted. Ooh, how brave. I'm already going along with this article. It's like, yeah, who cares, dude? You're attracted to people who just women, technically. So what? See how leftist, see how progressive I am right now? So calling for it to be recognized as a normal acceptable form of that, blah, blah, we get it. So, as with most things online, these stories are more complicated and far darker. Willoughby, had been a victim of abuse himself in his relationship with his girlfriend, and, was also frequently abusive. So see, they have to show that, hey, don't make this guy a martyr. He was a dick. Yeah, that's what this article says. Like, just because he killed himself, don't cry for him or something. Don't make him a hero, I think, is where it's going. So poverty and substance abuse led to violent tendencies in their relationship. Yeah, that sucks, dude. After their most recent breakup, he threatened to kill Palmer. Wow. That's not very nice. And he saw it, and they shot her. They got a restraining order. She did. The girlfriend got a restraining order. So police didn't take her seriously and refused to provide it. Uh-oh. They didn't. That's weird. So even after, why? So after his death, Palmer said she was harassed online, received death threats, mostly from Willoughby's friends and family. He's no longer looking good in this. He's starting to look like the bad guy, even though he killed himself. I guess that doesn't redeem you. It doesn't. Obviously it doesn't. Hitler killed himself. People still pissed off at him afterwards, After the same week, this is just an example of how killing yourself doesn't make you a good person. It doesn't negate the bad shit you do. That's the most original thought I've ever had. Okay. So the same week that Yoba announced his trans attraction, a Facebook post, a trans sex worker named not something, who cares what her name is, revealed that Yoba's love for trans women was more accurately a bid to cover up what she alleged, that's how you say it, to be a pattern of him buying sex from underage trans girls. Okay, so he also got prostitutes, I guess. She said his announcement was a way to mask his abuse of women in the convenient language of victimhood. When asked about it in the blog, yeah, dude, so this guy's a dick, dude. Who gives a fuck if he was attracted to trans women? That doesn't fucking make you look good at all. So I guess this article is just convincing me that this guy was an asshole. So for any women, but anyway, who cares? That's just one case. What are they saying about men in general? Cis men in general, or whatever. I like the squiggly lines. All right, this is distracting me. The animated squiggly lines are distracting me in this article. It's hypnotizing me to think the way they want me to think. So for any woman who has been involved in an abusive relationship, these stories are painfully familiar. Intimate partner violence, abuse, and abuse have an impact on nearly all women, even directly. But it's long been observed that transgender women are remarkably vulnerable, blah, blah. Okay, we get it. Get back to men being bad. The Willoughby case and Yoba's subsequent announcement revealed the threat of violence that animates narratives of trans womanhood on media. Mainstream media. Yoba's specific mental gymnastics and the press's positive response demonstrates how powerful men can manipulate certain ideas about trans womanhood to their own benefit. Yep, that's what powerful men do. They do that, dude. They manipulate. They use media to manipulate. So if you browse Instagram, Twitter, or any media site you'd like, them out, Vice, Mike, Into. I've never heard of most of these. I probably have heard of most of those. Time and again, trans women's stories are packaged by cisgender people for cisgender audiences with men at the center. That sounds evil to me. The stories that are told about trans women are ones in which we are either victims or partners to men. It says we, in which we are. Wait, who wrote this? Is this written by a trans person? Because they said we. The stories that are told about trans women are the ones in which we are either victims or partners. Yeah, I guess they are. That they said we. So, we are only recognized as women through the actions and beliefs of straight men who fuck and love us. Ouch. That is a crude way to put it. That's all we do. We love and fuck them. Or at least that's the only ones who recognize trans or something. I don't know. So our place is in a straight man's orbit. Isn't that just true about So why is that true for trans women, not just women? I mean, women, probably you could say that about women too. Like anything that a woman does, it's in a man's orbit, because otherwise they are not taken seriously unless there's a man who's powerful or something. Stigma and information makes it difficult to talk about domestic violence in these relationships. I agree with that. So trans people in particular, the data, issues are exacerbated by the dearth of competent services for trans survivors. The dearth? Interesting, that's a cool word to use. The dearth of competent services. The statistics that do exist are telling. And then it just says that there's... I don't feel like reading all this stuff. So, it's a good article. I guess I have to read if I want to know what the hell they're saying. I mean, it's very hard to just paraphrase at this point. So, you can't paraphrase this stuff. All right, so revealed that 50% of respondents have experienced some form of domestic abuse. That's a lot. 1 in 5 trans people experienced abuse from a partner in 2017. That is, it's less than 54%. Oh, and then it says they have 54% have experienced some at some point is what they're saying. So that's a bigger number because it's like overall. It's like at any point. They're just saying 1 in 5 experienced abuse in 2017. That's 1 year. So that's a lot, dude. If that's scary. So nearly 1 in 4 trans people have experienced severe physical violence by an intimate partner. Okay, and according to one study, transgender women experienced intimate partner violence at more than 5 times the rate of cisgender women. Holy fuck. I mean, that makes me feel bad for them, I guess. But, like, also, I mean, it makes me wonder why it's so much higher. 5 times more than cisgender women. Jeez, dude, I can't think of a reason for that, because I feel like cisgender women are easy to abuse. No. Alright, so because they're weaker or something. No, I mean, literally, it depends, obviously, on the transgender person. Like, some of them are harder to abuse, probably, than others. I mean, obviously. To get a sense of scale, organizations that deal with violence against women estimate that around 3 women are murdered by their intimate partners per day in the U.S. 1/3 of all homicides are very, very, very... All these very serious... It's hard to do like make this funny, dude. I'm not even trying to be funny, but like, I don't like being serious. Like all this serious, like talking about abuse. This is dodgy territory. I'm trying to make light of it because that's what I meant. That's what I like to do. I like to make light of very serious statistics. So 1/3 of all homicides of female victims in the U.S. are committed by intimate partners, most of whom are men. Dude, men are fucking violent animals who need to be restrained and sent to a zoo like a gorilla. Most men are terrible scum who abuse women. I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's not what it says at all. That's what I'm just saying. That's my personal opinion, But this just says that around 1/3 of all homicides. Okay. It is saying that most men are bad, I think is what it says. So it didn't disavow. It did not say anything against what I just said. So simply put, trans women are at high risk of violence for similar reasons as other vulnerable people. These are interpersonal symptoms of a broader societal condition. I can't believe I'm reading like this whole article almost. This is a long article, dude. Let's just read this sentence. In her fabulous essay, Pussy, did I say that in a sensitive way? I feel like I said that in a way that was very raunchy. Let's try it again in a more mature voice. Okay. Pretend I'm at a library or something. Pretend I'm at a corporate setting and actually take this seriously. Like I'm on like I'm not trying to get fired for sexual harassment. Let's say it the proper way. In her fabulous essay, Pussy, I think that was better. It's hard to say that word in a serious voice in a corporate world. But that was the article's name, so I got to repeat it verbatim. I don't censor. I'm not going to bleep it. It's not worth bleeping, dude. That's just the name of the essay. All right. All right, let's just move on. Let's be I think the professional thing to do would be to not focus on it for 15 minutes and just kind of just move on. So in her fabulous essay, Pussy, the poet and activist Gwen Benaway, yes, she sounds like someone who would write an article called that, writes that one of the conditions that define trans womanhood is the constant demand to provide perfect accounts of ourselves in navigating medical providers. Blah. That's a very... all these subjects are boring for an article called Pussy. It's about family conversations and social services and casual interactions with everything. We were asked to explain the fact of our existence of spills in our romantic and domestic lives. Well, that sounds like a boring article named Pussy, but I'm going to click on it because that's a clickbaity name, dude. So here's the Pussy article, and boy, is it long. Ooh. Wow. Gender studies alert. So that's what you read about if you're studying gender studies, I guess. You study all this meaty content about that's called Pussy, but doesn't have pictures of it for whatever reason, Cool. So we're only about halfway through this article, and I think Billy wants to call in. All right, I could try calling him. Or I could tell him to call me. I'll just call him because he said he's ready. Gotta allow my microphone to work. There we go.
Hey, Tim.
How's it going, Billy?
Going good?
Cool, dude. Thank you for being on again. It's been a while since I last had you on. I think that I don't even remember when that was. It was sometime last year.
Sometime around summer. I remember I wasn't wearing a nice jacket.
Oh, okay.
That's all I remember.
So it was right when I started, pretty much. Cool. Yeah. So you weren't wearing a jacket. All right, cool. So since then, you have succeeded in something that we vaguely talked about. And I remember I asked you how much you could say, and you're like, well, I could say a little bit about it.
Well, I could say most about it. I'm just not allowed to disclose amounts. But yeah, I filed charges with the National Labor Relations Board against my former employer for firing me for trying to organize a union.
Nice.
And put together a 200-page docket myself. And then they settled. And I'm not allowed to disclose the amount, though.
All right, I will not even, fine. I will not even say anything about that to hint at how much it could be. I'm not going to ask how comfortable you are based on it. I'm not going to ask if it's
I can just say, I'm satisfied with it.
All right,
that's as far as I could really go.
Cool. So I guess, so it's good to hear that you got that it went your way, because I guess
in most cases it doesn't. We have very, very poor labor rights in the United States.
So you put this was obviously a big project because you said you wrote a 200-page docket. What is a docket?
Yeah. Well, I don't even know if that's the right word. I was only basically pretending to be a lawyer. So I just put together all the evidence in a giant binder, organized it, and then sent it in.
So you did most of the heavy lifting in this case. You were the lawyer.
Well, I did all of it. I didn't have a lawyer.
Oh, you didn't have a lawyer at all. That's even more impressive. So so I guess so you didn't go to court. You
No, I never
settled
actually went to trial. They settled ahead of time, but they tried very hard not to settle, so I still consider that a victory.
Yeah. When you write a 200-page okay, so you just gathered evidence. So it's not like you wrote like it's not like writing a screenplay where you need a big.
Oh, well, I had like actual charts and graphs and stuff because I went all out. Also, I had a lot of free time because I was fired, so why not?
Wow. So yeah, I wonder like how much evidence you could really have just for getting. So you tried to.
I basically printed out any email that it was even remotely referenced to it, and yeah, I was kind of proud of myself. I put together a decent case.
So why did you want to start this union again? Just because they paid a little?
Well, the pay actually wasn't super terrible. A lot of it was from tips, which is kind of an issue because that means on like days where it's rainy, you're making not so much. But the major issue was we weren't getting like lunch breaks or anything like that, and our days went from about 10 hours a day on average to about 12 to 14.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes 16-hour days. They became very regular my last year there.
16-hour days, that's a lot.
Yeah, with no breaks. Like by the end of it, you're just kind of like losing your mind.
Well, okay, then there you go. That's a good reason to complain, and eventually it led to you trying to. So obviously now you're kind of in between jobs, I believe, right?
Well, I got a side gig as a tour guide at another company, so I still got money coming in eventually, starting again in May.
All right, well, I guess that's cool. I guess the thing to question, if we're talking about scary ideas, how do we make it? So to make this scary, it's scary for people who, first of all, work in a company that doesn't have good benefits. Scary for them, which
yeah, and increasingly, most of them don't. Like most jobs post the 2008 financial crisis have been just bad.
So you would probably encourage people to do what you did, not to like fuck over the company, but like just that it's an option.
Yeah, what's crazy is it doesn't actually fuck over the company. For the most part, like unions actually increase productivity and efficiency. I know that goes totally against what people actually hear. You assume, lazy union worker not doing anything, but it's the exact opposite when you actually look at the statistics.
Okay. Then.
Union companies actually maintain people for a lot longer. So they're a lot more skilled at what they do, and they're a lot more efficient.
Well, there you go then. If that's what it leads to, I guess it's
good all around. Like in like Sweden, I believe their union rate is like 75, 80%, something crazy high like that.
Gotcha. Yeah, I guess that makes sense in the Scandinavian.
And ours is like, I want to say 8 to 11, somewhere in there.
Damn. So I guess the other side of it is that businesses might be afraid of employee who, the thought of people unionizing because on the business end, maybe
the CEOs make less money and the shareholders make less money. That's the one thing they're trying to protect. So like even management usually gets a pay bump.
So management gets. So other than that, it leads to increased productivity, which in the end could increase the bottom line.
Yeah, overall it does help. I mean, the golden age of the American economy is widely considered the 50s and 60s. Mm-hmm. That was when we had the highest rates of unionization and the income gap was the lowest.
Yeah, I thought of that movie Irishman because they seem I just thought of it when we were talking about unions because there's a character who has a union, and I guess that's when unions are more commonplace.
Yeah, I haven't actually watched that yet, but the apparently like the dude that's about has a connection to Joe Biden.
Oh, Jimmy Hoffa or do you even know if that's?
I don't even know. I haven't watched the movie at all yet. I haven't looked into that detail, but the Biden connection I find fascinating.
So you mean the dude who started the union guy, or do you know anything about the real life thing or the connection with Biden?
No, I just shared a rumor that I kind of vaguely heard like a year ago.
Got it.
But honestly, that's probably the only cool thing Biden's done.
So cool. So I guess we could talk about that. This upcoming fun time we're in an election year. If people listening,
do you mean election like decade?
Election decade. Yeah. It's been an interesting, I guess, previous 4 years or whatever. Since 2016, things have been interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know. I think it is I think right now things are pretty boring and sleepy, in my opinion. Like people on the left, the Democratic team, not too enthusiastic about it, unless you were like really into Bernie or something. What about you?
Yeah, Bernie's the only one with any enthusiasm behind him.
Yeah, I
in
agree.
Last Iowa poll, Biden had 8% enthusiasm. That is like poison.
Do they measure enthusiasm by
Some polls do when you check the crosstabs. Bernie had like 67%. Biden had like 8.
Oh, I had no idea. Okay.
And I think Warren had pretty high. She was above 60 at least.
Yeah, I watched the most recent debate that she was on, and she seemed kind of brutal, and she was acting defeated from the start. Like, okay, she was kind of going downhill or whatever. Like, there was kind of the last.
Yeah, the term they tend to use is flailing. Like right before Iowa, usually a campaign that didn't really catch as much traction as they hoped. Try something kind of desperate.
Yeah, that's how I saw her energy levels and shit like that. And then Joe Biden looked like a fossil. Like he's
today I saw today in his speech he just said, what's the exact quote? Somebody was just sharing it on Twitter. Dogs with fangs bark and raise their hind legs. He's like clearly losing his mind.
Oh yeah, I mean he's fun to make fun of, but I don't think anyone really. I've never really met anyone who likes him, and I guess that's why the 8% enthusiastic rate is what it is. And
yeah, his numbers, in my opinion at least, are mostly name recognition. Like they're just like, I don't know, Biden.
Exactly.
People don't want to have no answer when pollsters call them, but if they don't have an answer, they just make up whatever sounds likeliest.
It's pretty sad. I mean, so you're obviously a Bernie bro. Would you say that?
Very much so.
Nice. And when did he become your guy?
Well, I never expected him to run, but I've known about him for about a decade. Tom Hartman used to run a thing on a program where he'd talk to him. I think it was called Brunch with Bernie. I was like, this guy's actually not lying to us. And I'd never seen a politician actually do that.
Right. Okay. So you think he's genuine? And yeah, I don't know when I first heard about him, but it was definitely, at some point before he ran in 2016. I just don't remember. He was very hazy. My memory's hazy. So,
he's a leftist. He's like the last leftist in Congress, so he was kind of a sideline for most of his career.
So you call him a leftist, not in a loaded way, just technically.
No,
he's very.
He's the most leftist in there. Most like actual leftists don't even consider him like a real socialist.
Okay. Right. So he's
not.
not.
That was a point I wanted to make on here because we talked about this last time I saw you. But yeah,
right.
Democrats are not the left. I just want to make that very clear.
So by left, you mean they're not left enough, or they're center? You mean, or what?
They're center.
Gotcha.
At least when it comes to economic policy. On social policy, they're kind of left. On economic policy, they're center right.
Oh, really? Well, I would agree with most. I would agree with that. Because most Democrats, the party line is not really. Some of the issues I would say are to the left, but I don't even know, to be honest, because they're not all of them. I think are for like what would you call because Bernie you say is leftist. So
well, he's at least the most leftist we got up there right now.
To me, a leftist issue would be like higher taxes or like more social programs, more welfare programs.
In a sense, but actually, that's perfect. What you're basically touching on is what is called democratic socialism, which is confusingly not really socialism.
It is
confusing.
It is
more like FDR-style politics, which is what Bernie totally encompasses.
So there's democratic socialism, and then there's like social democracy or something.
Yeah, it's designed to be confusing, so none of us know what we're talking about.
Yep, and then there's straight up socialism, which people like to call him, like people lump him in as a socialist and a communist. If you really depends on who's smearing him or whatever.
Yeah, that's a form of socialism, but there's also like democratic socialism is very different from authoritarian communism.
Totally. I mean, yeah. I don't think he's that crazy to the left. I just think. I
think he was like in the 80s. Because some of his writings back then were a little intense.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? He probably wants just to get elected. You can't. You have to kind of be a little bit, whatever the word is, diplomat. You got to be bipartisan to like a little bit to get elected. Like otherwise. He has no chance.
You got to be at least a little generous to either side, but I don't think you actually have to like run in the center.
Okay.
I mean, Trump did not run in the center; he ran on the right.
definitely.
And on
yeah,
economic policy, he flanked Clinton from the left, which was a good move.
That's a good point. And so, thing about Bernie is, and you don't. I think we did say something about socialism. You don't. You're not a socialist.
No, I am.
You are. Okay, that's what I thought you might have mentioned last time I saw you.
But more on the Democratic side, rather. I'm not like an authoritarian communist or what we call a tanky.
Yeah, gotcha. You don't say comrade to people. You don't wear a beret.
No, if I could pull off a beret, though, I absolutely would. It's a good look.
Yeah, like I guess there are some people who, identify with real communism today, like young people, like our age, actually do.
Yeah, there's quite a few. I talked to a lot of them.
Yeah, and I would have no problem with them as a person, just because they have that belief in that system.
I mean, what's weird is, like, the first church of Christianity was actually technically the first commune. It's like, it's been around for longer than, like, Karl Marx.
The first commune. Gotcha.
Yeah, like actual communism where everyone kind of shared everything.
Okay. I guess it's a vague thing.
That was back when it was a very small thing, though. It was before, like, the Roman Catholic Church.
Got it. So if you call yourself a socialist, there obviously is quite a distinction because you said that you're more on the democratic side, which means you don't want to just force people to have to not own property, and you would.
Yeah, I don't know how removing property rights would work. I'd rather basically roughly what we have now, but with a higher floor, so nobody's actually dying on the streets.
Higher floors, yeah. Okay. So you'd want to give the government definitely more power than it has now. I mean,
Well, that's the tricky part. And this is something that we kind of, it's kind of weird in the United States when we say the government will do this. Because the government in the United States does not represent the people at all. It represents capitalists at the top, the people with the most money.
Mm-hmm.
I believe I could look up the number again. There was like a Yale study that found that our policy is 92% or above, might have been 96, decided by the wealthy. We have almost no actual say in policy.
Oh, really? It's the wealthy because of lobbyists and stuff like that?
I'm going to try and pull it up real quick. Yeah, but also, I mean, they give the most money to politicians, so they have the most access, and that's across party lines.
Directly to them and through lobbyists, I guess. I mean, I'm just guessing.
Yeah, definitely lobbyists are also an issue.
Okay.
Yeah, both sides play that game.
Alrighty. So you're saying it's an elite... The elite are running policy.
It was a Princeton study, and let me see if I can pull up the number.
Sounds good. Just going to check if there's anyone in the chat. So trying to find a comment that is appropriate. Someone wants me to ask if you're a national social. Oh, come on, that's a bad motherfucker got me in the chat.
Yeah, no.
I just read it as if it was like a real question, then as I'm saying it, I'm like, what the fuck? He got me. All right. And then some... Yeah, all these questions are very, like edgy questions. Democrats are as gay as Republicans. They're all gay as AIDS. Just to give you a taste of what's going on in my chat. But they, it's open field. I mean, it's pretty... Anyway, so back to what we... So, okay, you're looking up an article.
Yeah, I can't find the exact number. I found a few articles referencing it. Let's see. Yeah, well, I'll keep trying to pull this up, but yeah, whatever else you wanted to go with, I can do that too.
Someone says, this caller thinks land ownership is a right and not earned. I don't know if that's the case.
Not what I said. I actually said private property should still be a thing.
Right. Yeah, I don't remember you saying that. Maybe there's yeah, all right. Chat, we tried. You guys are being... No, you're fine. You're trolling. All right. I'm just whipping the chat. I have a good chat. It's the best chat. All right, so anyway, I guess I could ask you then... What was I going to ask you? Oh, yeah. I had someone on who was like an anarcho-socialist or something. Like, he wanted no centralization, but yet he still wanted people to get stuff from other sources of, like, instead of just getting it from, I don't know, it's really confusing to me. Like all this anarcho stuff, like anarcho-capitalist.
Yeah, anarcho-capitalist is just Mad Max. I don't consider that like an actual political theory. That's just basically the rich rule. That's it.
Sounds like it, like basically zero regulation is what.
Yeah, no regulations, and I mean, anarchism is a freedom philosophy. The idea of no hierarchy, you have no bosses, everyone's equal. You all kind of either democratically vote on what to do, and capitalism is the people with the most money are in charge. I mean, that's basically what it is. I know a lot of people think capitalism is markets. It's not. Every socialist country ever has had markets. Capitalism is simply who is in charge of the economy. Is it a feudalist boss or is it the workers?
All right. And what do you think about like open borders? Because I talked to someone who was pro open borders.
I mean, if we were...
He was a socialist.
No, not really.
Yeah.
Open borders, like once more people come in, it does depress wages.
Yeah.
I mean, we just need to be able to actually help everybody out, not necessarily by doing that.
Well, there's common ground there between you. Yeah, I mean, that's an easy one for me. But
I definitely think we should allow way more in. It does help a lot, but we need some controls. Open borders are... I mean, Bernie doesn't support open borders either.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. What is your most far-leaning opinion, do you think? On either, like to the left, I assume. Do you have any... right,
like really extreme.
Yeah. What's your most your edgiest issue that you have an opinion on? I guess that you take sides with.
I don't know. I don't think billionaires should exist.
Oh yeah, that one. We talked about that last time, and I think I got you to maybe agree that maybe maybe $1 billion is the cap. Like maybe $1 billion.
I mean, maybe, but $1 billion is so much bigger than we actually think.
Yeah, I
like
know.
1 million seconds ago is 11 days ago. 1 billion seconds ago is 32 years.
True. I just think you need the incentive. The incentive of how much money you can make from a business or whatever has to be very high.
But nobody's ever actually earned $1 billion.
Right.
The only one I would argue actually could have was Jonas Salk, because he cured polio, but he actually made the patent. I think he sold it for $1 so everyone could have it, and ended up dying in poverty.
So how would he ever earned the $1 billion then from like...
If he had actually patented the cure for polio, he could have absolutely been a billionaire.
And
we
that's
use that
legit...
to eradicate the entire disease.
So a patent is a legit... It has to...
Yeah, if you invent something amazing, I think that would be actually fair. But I mean, I don't think that's ever actually happened in history.
I mean, I'm sure there's been licenses for patents that have been worth over $1 billion.
At this point, but you also have to consider the valuation of the way our economy works right now with venture capitalists is bizarre. Like Uber is not worth billions of dollars. It is an insane company that loses $1 billion every single year.
Right. Yeah, I guess I know what you mean there.
But it's being propped up by venture capital money, and I think that's what's going on with a lot. Like WeWork, remember that weird disaster?
I know of the company, but I don't know of the disaster.
Well, they ended up having, I think it was a several $billion-dollar valuation when they were just real estate, and then they kind of went insane. I'd highly recommend looking into the story. It's incredibly funny. It was basically like this bizarre cult.
Well, I agree that there's what do you call it? There's bubbles like of perceived value that are not based on anything real.
Yeah, like the .com bubble.
Right.
Basically, every decade we have this bizarre, like the Beanie Baby bubble. We thought those were going to be worth something.
Oh yeah, that's a good example. And so you're saying no billionaire has ever legitimately like earned their money. It's all based on It's all a bubble.
Well, I mean, Bill Gates is wealthy because IBM made a bad trade deal. So they had to pay Microsoft a license for Windows on every computer rather than something like Linux.
I got it.
So you have to pay a private tax to Bill Gates anytime you buy a computer. You have to pay him a little bit extra on the top because he made that stellar deal.
Good deal, yeah. Okay, I don't think you...
So it's smart business, but I would argue it's not really earning that. He kind of exploited and then used that power to kind of shut down and buy up all the other competition.
Okay.
And reducing competition to both capitalists and socialists, not a good idea.
I'm guessing that also applies to most of the .com people who made a lot of money. Like even Elon Musk would probably be in that category because that's how.
Yeah, he made a lot of money off of PayPal, which is an inherently obvious idea. Anyone who saw the internet and you were around at that time, you had the know-how, you would know, oh, obviously we need some sort of banking system.
True. Here's the right place at the right time. Well, that's depressing. So to be a billionaire in your eyes, like to earn it, like to be okay, to be allowed to keep it, you're saying.
Yeah, to go back to the 50s and 60s, I mean, we had a 90% marginal tax rate at the very top, and things were fine. Like the Beatles were still millionaires.
Oh, yeah, shit.
And they were comfortable. We don't need people making 670 times what we do.
So what do you think the tax rate should be for billionaires? Or even millionaires? I don't know, like what, yeah.
First off, I really like the idea of a wealth tax on that because, well, just as like an oligarchy prevention thing. So also remember, I do not like our governor, Pritzker.
Right.
Yeah, he's not like these people.
He's a billionaire, right?
Inherit this money and then they get to be in charge because they were born richest. It's bizarre.
Well, yeah, it's not easy to find that impressive or whatever, but
it's basically feudalism, like the same exact system. Yeah. They're new nobility.
So let's say you make, billionaires, millionaires. Let's say you make about $1 million a year. So we're just talking multi-millionaire status. What should that tax be? Income.
I don't know. I've never actually done a bracket myself, but gotcha. I mean, bare minimum, we should go back to the system we had, late 60s.
So just a lot more than we're paying now.
Yeah, a lot more, and maybe adjust them for now. So anyone making over $10 million pays a 90% tax rate on anything above 10 million.
Damn.
But that is to the left. Well, that's what it was before, but it was a 90% tax rate on anything over, I think, 200,000.
Yeah, wow. I mean, I guess people like to be nostalgic over the good old days, but I don't think that.
For the record, though, my stance on that is far to the left of Bernie, who wants, I think it's a 45% tax on people over 10 million.
I think that's just one of those numbers that he came up with in order to not be too extreme to alienate. I think he probably would want.
I think he's actually become a little less radical over the last 30 years.
Gotcha. So it's not
because in the 80s there was some blurb about him saying nobody should have even $1 million.
Right. I guess he.
So once you do the inflation calculator math on that, I mean $1 million back in 1970 was actually I can do that real quick.
More, yeah. I'm guessing
because just last week Biden said in the debate. Yeah, when I was a young man, I was making $42,000 a year. When you actually do that in an inflation calculator, it's $250,000.
Yeah, dude, that was so long ago. Yeah, and he's acting like it's a humble amount. That's funny.
Yeah, he was saying I was I was a millionaire. I was a humble millionaire.
He's out of touch. Yeah. Well, yeah, that's not winning. That's not impressive. Yeah, okay, that's funny. So Bernie became less radical, and it's not just because he wants to get elected. He's just actually got less radical. So
I think it's something called the Firehouse Effect.
Okay.
Once you actually get involved with a group of people, your politics kind of gravitate towards the center. It's called the Firehouse Effect because firemen feel it the most because they have to spend all that time together.
Interesting. Never heard that before.
So I think being around all those politicians kind of slowly pares you back a little bit, whether or not you try to fight it.
Got it. Why do whenever I mention these politicians' names in the comedy world, you always get a certain reaction from certain people. Obviously, Trump gets no positive reaction from pretty much anybody in Chicago.
Well, to be fair, a lot of comedians in Chicago do think Trump is hilarious.
Well, that's fair.
They don't like him on policy, but they think he's very funny.
I mean, I agree that they should find him funny. I mean, that's
when he called Buttigieg Alfred E. Newman, that was hilarious.
Oh, okay, that's fair of you to say that something about him that's not. It's not that. I mean,
he's funny. I see the charisma that people talk
on
about.
Purpose.
I mean, I don't like a lot of his politics, but he's got the charisma. He's kind of he's funny.
Cool. So you're not ridiculing him. You actually give him a bit of a. You're saying his charisma. Cool.
I'm going to say he's funny at least.
That's fair. I'm not trying to pull anything more out of it because that's good enough. I'm just saying, like, obviously, if you say it in public, on stage, not that so that's just one. People obviously usually just don't want to hear anything good about him. And then if you mention Bernie, usually it's the most positive. It's neutral. And then if you mention like Warren, it's positive because it's a woman, virtue signaling. And then if you mention Yang, women don't like Yang for some reason, I've noticed.
Yeah, Yang kind of supports like younger dudes for whatever reason.
He's a dude guy. Like, a lot of people who like him are dudes for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah, I think like Yang bro would have actually made sense as a term. Bernie bro really doesn't. And most of Bernie's base is actually women and people of color.
Yeah, I guess so.
Like, statistically, I'm actually an outlier being a white dude.
Interesting. Yeah, I guess just lame that he's just another old white guy, I guess. That's why it's like, okay. Not to me. I don't care because I don't care about identity politics, really, but I guess that's what...
Yeah, that's actually another interesting thing to touch on, is like the left, for the most part, also doesn't like the way identity politics is used.
Really?
I mean, it's important. I mean, there should be representation, but the way they use it is kind of a bludgeon. Not good for anybody.
Because I thought that some of these things were coming from the far left.
No, they come from the center. They come
Really?
from centrists.
I've never heard that. I guess that's just
Actually, the same with gun control, too. Like, leftists support guns. Karl Marx said,
Really?
at no point should you be able to take guns from the workers.
Well, okay. I guess I've always heard it framed as a leftist thing when they say
See,
gun.
that's the thing, is they always say, like, it's the left when it's the center.
Yeah, I guess things might be changing too. Whatever, all these issues kind of move to the center, maybe. But also,
Yeah, like, Marxists are all for, like, weapon. I'm not sure where I stand on that, but, like, the Karl Marx position is, do not disarm the workers under any circumstances or condition.
the workers. So is that pro Second Amendment?
In a
Or
sense,
Marxist?
yeah. Actually, I think he...
I would never
Yeah.
have thought that. Yeah, if you're a Marxist, you would be pro Second Amendment. That sounds...
But yeah, that's the stance from him, at least. I mean, I think we should have a little bit of control and like registration and stuff, but I don't think we should take it from everybody.
Yeah, I mean, just because I'm pro Second Amendment doesn't mean I think there should be zero regulation. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, I mean, we all already agree nobody should be able to buy a tank or a nuke, so we all agree that the line is somewhere.
That is a good question, though. Like a tank, I don't see why not. Is if you can afford it, why not have a tank? I mean, if it's for self-defense.
There actually was a story of a guy. Well, first off, that's insane. But there was a story of a guy who kind of built his own tank and basically destroyed his town.
Well, I know of that. The Killdozer.
Yeah, the Killdozer. The guy who like covered it in cement.
Crazy story. It was over like some problem. I forget what it was.
I believe it was like a
zoning something.
Like a mortgage or a zoning thing.
Yeah. Well, he was pissed, dude. He
became a real life supervillain.
So I mean, yeah. So if I do think you should be allowed to own a tank, nukes. I don't know about that. No, maybe not nukes, because that's hard to defend for self. It's hard to say justify as a.
How do you justify a tank for self-defense?
I guess in extreme situations where we actually have like a government that is totalitarian and we have to fight the government, tanks would be the best weapons or defenses.
In that instance, though, I've always wondered like how many troops actually support like the government that's controlled by these oil companies. So a lot of them come back. Like right now, Bernie actually has the most money from soldiers of any candidate combined.
Okay.
So the troops are donating to Bernie, like the leftist.
The troops, right. So you're saying if the government became...
I'm just saying I don't think it's as much of a monolith as we all think.
Okay. Right. So it's more... Okay. Either way, we're fucked if the government turns
for sure.
I mean, there's no question there. It's just... I just think we need a fair... the militia, like the rebels, whatever happens, but I think we need... There shouldn't be, tanks. We might need tanks. Might need to, who knows? If that point, we would have to steal tanks or something, or commandeer. I'm not condoning this. I'm just saying if shit hits the fan, we might have to hijack an aircraft carrier and
or maybe just start building some killdozers. Get ready.
Yeah, killdozers are cool. Those guys, I don't endorse using them to hurt anybody.
Me either.
But he didn't hurt anybody. Yeah, he just destroyed buildings. And he was an altruistic. He was like a superhero, and he just killed himself.
It's like
That's
property Robin Hood.
Yeah, so he's a hero. But I don't know. You could 3D print a tank, I guess, if people want to. That's all I'm saying. You should be allowed to do that.
Wouldn't that be plastic and incredibly hot?
I guess. I'm just saying, theoretically, you should be allowed to.
I would disagree with you on that, but I see where you're coming from.
It's a weird hill to die on, but I just don't have a problem with that. But nukes, yeah, fuck nukes, dude. I think nukes should be just not exist, really.
Yeah, the dismantle. I forget the name of that program.
Right.
Trying to dismantle all the nukes, but that makes total sense to me. I mean, they're weapons we can't even use and have to spend a vast fortune to maintain.
Yeah, like using them is so scary, and the thought. Like, I also believe that that's a reason that aliens come here and fuck with like nuclear power plants, because they're afraid of us using nuclear fission to destroy ourselves. That's one of my conspiracy theories that I believe in.
All right, it's an interesting one.
Yeah. Cool. Well, anyway, I think maybe it's a good time to let you go, unless you have another thing that we didn't touch on. Do you have any opinions on the right?
On the right?
Yeah. Any? As a socialist? Does that mean you all...
Well, if you saw the New York Times interview with Bernie, which he's getting attacked for from the center, about saying that a lot of people are kind of leaning that way because of material conditions, and that if you can't feed your family, if you don't have a home, you're going to be much more biased towards like racism and things like that. That makes sense to me. That scans for me.
That's what?
That scans for me. I mean, I get that.
Okay.
There's at least a small percentage of the right that would also be on the left if it was framed properly.
Okay, I guess.
I mean, we could win them back, is what I'm saying.
Okay, got it. So when you say so most of your opinions are on the left, then got it.
Yeah, other than that, I'm not sure.
Alrighty then. I guess that's a good place to let you go then. And,
all right. Have fun on the rest of your podcast.
Sounds good, dude. Thanks for calling. Thanks for letting me call you.
Yeah, no problem. Later.
All right, peace. All right, friends. The rest of this episode will be focusing on what I broached a little bit, which is conspiracy theories. I think we talked about politics during that call, mostly politics, and being in wealth distribution is, I think, a topic that he's most passionate about. So and then before that, we talked about something completely unrelated. But now we're going to talk about something also completely unrelated. Dude, what a good transition. I'm so smooth at whatever I'm doing, dude. It's not like I'm pausing for, just everything's just flowing out of me naturally right now. So anyway, we covered attraction to trans people. We covered if traps are gay. We didn't really actually cover that. That's a very nuanced subject, which we will do an entire episode about. But for now, we're going to talk about NASA. So this is a conspiracy theory that I have zero belief in, but a lot of people kind of think space is fake, and NASA, or they think NASA. Yeah, some people think space is fake, and a lot of people, more than that, think that NASA is lying to us. And so here's what this video is called "What the Stars Really Look Like Without all of NASA's cartoons." So they think NASA is a company that produces artwork and not a space agency. They don't think we go to space. So they're showing what stars look like in terms of size and how NASA shows what they look like, and it shows these big-ass stars like Pollux, this orange giant, and then it zooms out even more to show Arcturus. I'm not sure what this video is. I don't know why I have to play the dumb music on it over. It's really dumb music. So if you want to find the series, the universe thing in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. They're showing a quote by Nikola Tesla. I'm sure that'll become very relevant soon. So now they're showing raw footage of Sirius, and then raw footage taken from amateurs, no NASA, and then Sirius A made by NASA, but it's an artist's view. I don't know, I'm just not sure what the point is yet. They're showing Sirius by amateurs. And it just looks like this pulsating white-ish light, and it's a point of light. It kind of also looks like a disc a little bit, but I don't think it is. I think that's just what the telescope does when it's unfocused. But it looks like a star, like a big ass star. And why are they? So the point, I don't know what the point of this video is at all. This was a complete waste of time so far. They're showing a pulsar, random stars. Okay, Venus, yeah, great. And then now they're showing a water and frequencies being thrown at them, and how it gets all pretty, how the water like turns all wavy when you put. Alright, so that was a waste of time. Now let's go to another video which I also didn't review about NVIDIA. Oh, so this is a graphics card company debunking conspiracy theories about the moon landing. Let's just watch a little bit of this, not the whole thing. It's too long. I have to do commentary over it though. So far there's nothing to comment.
On July 20th,
okay.
1969,
He's talking.
3 astronauts
All right, get to the meat. Get to the meat.
on the surface of the moon.
All right, surface the
Michael
moon.
Collins,
Yes.
orbiting the moon, waiting for their return.
Who's Michael Collins? Someone no one's heard of.
Shortly after they landed,
That sucks being an astronaut who went to the moon and not having anyone hear of you,
Armstrong left the LEM.
All right, he's very
Makes
slowly.
the first step.
He's slowly
on the
getting
moon.
into his talk. He's even sleepier than me right now. No, I'm not even tired. I'm
That
just.
step.
What?
One small step for
What is
man.
going on with this guy? He's taking forever to talk.
One giant step for mankind.
Maybe he's just trying to build gravitas by going slow, like.
Shortly after, Buzz Aldrin
Yeah.
makes his way out of the LEM.
Okay.
Very carefully,
Yeah.
without locking the door to hatch, because as it turned out, they never designed a door handle on the outside.
Okay.
Makes his way out of the LEM and down the stairs. What you're looking at here is that seminal photograph that was taken
That's a
by
cool
Neil
photo.
Armstrong.
It's a high quality photo. Yeah.
Seminal photograph
It look-
taken by Neil Armstrong.
All
Buzz
right.
Aldrin.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So this photo is very high quality. Like it shows the tinfoil type substance material of the lunar capsule, I believe it's called. Actually, I don't know. I guess I'm just guessing. I think that's what it's called. And then the moon looks very like kind of surreal. I don't want to say fake, because that will trigger NASA heads. They'll be like, fuck you, it's not fake, you idiot. It just looks fake because you're not used to seeing pictures that are not taken on Earth, dude. Of course it looks unreal, dude. It doesn't look unreal. It looks, see, that's what I'm saying to myself. I'm saying this to you. It looks unearthly. That doesn't mean unreal. That's what the brain does. The brain computes that it's not real because it doesn't look normal. But not normal and unreal are two different things.
As they landed on the moon,
Take that, flat
stood-
earthers.
as they stepped onto the lunar surface of Tranquility Bay.
This guy's
Tranquility Base.
really taking his time here. Get into the subject, man.
Well, those photographs came back to Earth, and of course, to this day, still takes my breath away thinking about it. It was a step for man, but surely a giant step for mankind.
Someone says in the just want to say that someone in the chat is contributing. They say, rocket fuel doesn't burn in a vacuum. How did they get there? That's a good question, and I'm not. See, that's another thing we could look into. If rocket fuel, how do you prove that it can burn in a vacuum? It's a vacuum. How's it burn?
Inspired hundreds of millions, but at the same time,
All right, this guy's. All right, another long pause.
many people to be quite excited.
This guy has a. I thought I was bad with pauses and like, okay, what am I gonna say next? No, this guy's like fucking taking his time. He must have like a time quota he's trying to meet.
The origin of
So
this
it's got to be at least 15 minutes. Like, okay, I only had 10 minutes planned, so I guess I'll stretch.
photograph was truly from the moon.
Yeah, we get
There was
it.
good reason for them to question these photographs. First of all, when you look at that,
Oh, there was good reason. Okay, now he's getting into the conspiracy theorist talk. Okay, so there was good reason to question this photograph. Okay, here we go.
image of Buzz Aldrin,
Yeah.
when you look at the shadows on the ground, the dark shadows, he's surely in shadow.
Surely he's in shadow.
If he's
Okay,
surely in shadow,
Okay,
because
I
the
don't know.
sun is on the
What the
other
fuck going
side
on?
of the limb, how is it possible that he is that bright?
I don't know. I don't know.
Second,
Because everything else is bright? I don't know.
we know there's no atmosphere on the moon.
Yeah.
And if
And
there's no atmosphere on the moon, we should be
and
able to see the stars.
oh yeah, good point. Where the fucking stars?
Clearly, they knew
It's just
that
exposure.
we
Come
could
on.
very easily, through the positioning of the stars, determine whether they were actually on the moon.
But there's no stars, so that doesn't
And the belief
matter.
is that it must have been too complicated to line those up, so they decided to leave them out.
Okay, good point. Good
It was
point.
possible that this photograph was taken here on Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Now, with the invention
Kind of
of
looks like it.
VXGI,
Yeah.
and through the extraordinary efforts of our engineers, we meticulously model the lunar limb. Here's the
What?
wonderful thing about the lunar limb. It's made out of aluminum foil,
Yeah.
cloth, and a generous application of tape.
Yeah, it looks like it.
It was a flying Coke can.
It
No
looks very
wonder Aldrin and Armstrong wanted to get out of that thing as fast as they could.
looks very DIY.
It was a flying Coke can.
Looks like it was made in
We
someone's
modeled
basement.
every detail. We had to model every single detail. We
Model?
modeled the surface of the moon so that we could start to study
All right.
and test these mysteries.
I'm not even gonna let
And
this
come to
guy
our
get to
own-
the debunking part because I'm just gonna leave it I'm just gonna leave it open to where he said it didn't look real. I agree, it doesn't look real, and well, there's no stars, so there you go. That's a fake picture. We didn't go to space. We didn't go to the moon. So here's another video telling us, answering the question: why are all images of space photoshopped?
This is
What's
Spiral
with that?
Galaxy NGC 398.
That's a catchy name.
What a gorgeous, naturally occurring object in our
Why
universe.
is it like spinning?
Well, I mean, it ends up being gorgeous after all this work.
Damn, that's a lot of photoshopping for something that's real. If it's real, why is it all
That's
photoshopped?
Every photo you've ever seen of space, they're all
Yep.
photoshopped
Yep.
to perfection.
Yep.
And I'm sure
Damn
you're wondering why
right.
they do it. But the methodology behind how they do it is just as, if not even more interesting than that.
No, I want to know why. I don't care how. Tell me why. Why?
Okay, so the most important thing to get out of the way here is that none of these photos are fake. According to the space agencies that took them, they're just interpretations of our reality. These interpretations, however, are
that's not
edited
fake at
as
all.
NASA, the ESA, the Canadian Space Agency, and most, if not all, other space
they're not
agencies
liars.
Photoshop the images they take of the universe.
I've never heard of any of those other space agencies, dude. I didn't know there was that
While
many.
the term photoshopping bears a lot of negative connotations, like models getting airbrushed to perfection or people faking experiences they never had, this is
Nothing
not
wrong
the
with that.
case with space.
Everything you get from NASA is real. It's real information in the real universe.
Then why is it Photoshopped?
Yes,
Doesn't
the
make sense.
pictures are enhanced or altered, or the
That's
colors
not
are
real.
changed, but it's done for real scientific reasons, not just because we feel like it, and definitely not because we feel like making things up.
That's Dr. Paul Sutter, an astrophysicist
Whatever,
at the
dude.
Ohio State University.
Still not real.
And host of the podcast Ask a Spaceman. He helped me understand
It's
what
Photoshop,
the scientific
not real,
reasons
my
for
friend.
altering photos of space actually are.
Yeah, that's too fake. That's fake, dude. So alright. It's enough with the dumb music.
off,
This is a serious topic. Stop with the
Space are
surf
taken
music.
not for beauty, but to gain information
This is not
and
California.
insight about the universe
This is
around
space.
us. Most of the photos taken of space come to us in grayscale, a monochromatic color
Yeah,
range that's pretty bland and
sense.
boring if you're talking to the average person. The reason
So
for this
so why is it in grayscale? Why can't they take it in color and to begin with? That's a good question.
twofold.
Maybe
First,
because is space not colorful or something?
color cameras are just lower resolution than black and white cameras.
I didn't
To
know
produce
that.
any image, cameras require sensors to capture light.
Okay.
For black and white cameras, this sensor is working with all the light that comes into the camera. But with the color camera, you need red, blue, and green receptors to get all the different colors to make up the world.
Didn't know
Each
that.
receptor is only picking up 1/3 the light that it normally would, which, when put together, creates a less sharp image than you'd get.
All right, if you believe that, I mean, that just sounds like scientific jargon. You know, like who said that's the case? What am I gonna do? Open up a camera and look at it like with a microscope? Who knows? You just have to believe big science that colors really work that way and cameras work that way. But okay, let's just say that's true.
All of the light you were capable
Black and white cameras
So
are high
flatter,
res.
less colorful photos are ideal when it comes to getting the most information you can out of a
Okay.
photo. But of course, monochromatic photos aren't as visually appealing as color photos.
Wait, so Mars
both when
is
it comes
fake?
To aesthetics and when it comes to quickly grasping
So
information.
that looks like Mars. So Mars is not really as red as it looks on. So it's fake whenever it's red in a picture. It's from black and they colorize it. That's disappointing.
The human eye has a limit to how many shades of gray it can distinguish between. So scientists composite multiple filtered photos into one image to approximate the real colors you'd get with the color camera. And then, since they're already there in Photoshop,
That's cheating.
you figure you might as well zhuzh it up just a little bit.
We're visual
cheating.
creatures, and we like looking at pretty pictures. We like putting pretty pictures in our papers, and we like showing off pretty pictures to the public. We could share charts and graphs.
Yeah, but a
which,
nebula
while
doesn't
perhaps more
care
scientifically useful,
about
just isn't as interesting. So
Instagram
so here's the
likes,
cool picture
so
that led
what's-
to that chart and graph.
Colorizing photos is more than just trying to increase the appeal of an image. Frequently,
Why are you trying to
colorization
flatter a
is also
nebula?
used
I
for
don't care.
categorization. Just like how we categorize Excel spreadsheets.
I don't care if they're ugly,
wires,
dude. They're
and maps.
nebulas. They're not vain. You don't have to color. You don't have to make them prettier than they are, dude. Just give me the
Extracting all the
truth.
information you
Give me
can
the
out of
truth.
it.
I can handle it, dude. I'm not afraid to see what nebulas really look like without all the colorations.
By that, just from looking at the
So-
color it's painted as.
If you look at a picture of a typical nebula, like the Orion Nebula or the
Yeah.
Cat's Eye Nebula, this isn't necessarily what you'd see with the naked eye, because the colors that have been added here are used to highlight where certain elements are. Like, oh, if there's a lot of
Aw,
oxygen over here, we
lame.
want to paint that like a nice pretty blue. And if there's a bunch of iron over here, we want to see some
Lame.
red. We're assigning colors to those various elements so we can see where they are in relation to everybody else. So
Yeah,
we
why would it be colorful in real life? It's not like gas has like different is like colored in real life. Like when you see like a balloon, like helium. Like some gases are colorful, actually, I guess. Like inherently, like the atmosphere is blue for some reason. Nobody knows why. It's because light doesn't scatter, because light gets scattered or something. So it doesn't mean the gas is colorful, though. So nebulas are a lie, basically, is what this is saying. Nebulas are just boring, see-through. Like, you wouldn't even notice them without these colorful... I guess you would notice them. You would see something. But if you were in a nebula, you probably wouldn't be seeing much, is what I'm guessing. But also, that's if you believe in nebulas in the first place, dude. They could just be pretty pictures in the sky that God put there to test us, to test our belief in him. So let's not just assume anything about what these guys are saying is true. Gotta take everything with a grain of salt these days. Just like this video says, never a straight answer. Just, that's what I'm saying. We can never get a straight answer. This is Eric Dubay.
The sky is
Eric Dubay is a forefront figure in the flat Earth community. What's going on?
Watches out all the starlight, so you can't see any stars. Pretty much all the
Yeah, dude. No stars.
See stars. It's the darkest black you can imagine.
Yep, exactly, dude. The darkest black you could imagine. That's not very... Doesn't sound like the space I know with all the stars in the sky. Why are we playing rap music? Can we just get to the content, please? Alright, this is a terrible video, just playing music and showing tiny little snippets about how space is lying, dude. So let's just play a little bit of this next video, which is 200 proofs Earth is not a spinning ball. To get the reason we're on this website called BitChute, because it's really hard to get flat Earth information on regular old YouTube unless you know like the specific channel already. If you just type flat Earth proof in YouTube, you get all these biased results saying that it's not flat. You get all these hand-picked, curated, biased media results from big tech and Google, and trying to indoctrinate you that the Earth is not flat. They're all just ridiculing flat earthers in the top 100 results. So that's why we're on BitChute, because it's much easier to find the real info that we're looking for. So here's a very long video about 200 proofs the Earth is not a spinning ball.
200 proofs Earth is not a spinning ball by Eric Dubay. 1. The horizon always appears perfectly flat 360 degrees around the observer, regardless of altitude. All amateur balloon, rocket, plane, and drone footage show a completely flat horizon over 20 plus miles high. Only NASA and other government space agencies show curvature in their fake CGI photos and videos.
Exactly. There you go.
The horizon.
And we just saw a video about how pretty much everything from NASA is fake, so there you go.
It always rises to the eye level of the observer as altitude is gained, so you never have to look down to see it.
Okay.
If Earth were in fact a globe, no matter how large, as you ascended, the horizon would stay fixed and the observer would have to tilt looking down further and further to see it. 3.
Okay.
The natural physics of water is to find and maintain its level.
Yep.
If Earth were a giant sphere tilted, wobbling, and hurtling through infinite space, then truly flat, consistently level surfaces would not exist here. But since Earth is in fact an extended flat plane, this fundamental physical property of fluids finding and remaining level is consistent with experience and common sense.
There you go. Can't explain
4.
that.
Rivers run down to sea level, finding the easiest course, north, south, east, west, and all other intermediary directions over the Earth at the same time. If Earth were truly a spinning ball, then many of these rivers would be impossibly flowing uphill. For example, the Mississippi, in its 3,000 miles, would have to ascend 11 miles before reaching the Gulf of Mexico.
I didn't know that. Is that true? Does it really go up in elevation, but as it gets to the sea? It's not going down? It's not like going down river. Like they say.
5. One portion of the Nile River flows for 1,000 miles with a fall of only 1 foot. Parts of the West African Congo, according to the supposed inclination and movement of the ball earth, would be sometimes running uphill and sometimes down. This would also be the case for the Parana,
I'll take your word for it. I mean, I don't know much about rivers and
other long rivers. 6. If Earth were a ball 25,000 miles in circumference, as NASA and modern astronomy claim, spherical trigonometry dictates the surface of all standing water must curve downward an easily measurable 8 inches per mile.
All standing water.
Multiplied by the square of the distance.
There you go.
This means along a 6-mile channel of standing water, the Earth would dip 6 feet on either end from the central peak. Every time such experiments have been conducted, however, standing water has proven to be perfectly level. 7. Surveyors, engineers, and architects are never required to factor the supposed curvature of the Earth into their projects. Canals, railways, bridges, and tunnels, for example, are always cut and laid horizontally, often over hundreds of miles without any allowance for curvature.
There you go. You heard it there, right there. They're showing this long ass bridge. I believe it's the longest continuous bridge or something in the world. It's in Louisiana, and it's very long. It's long enough to where in some pictures you could actually see the curvature of the Earth, but that's if you believe in those pictures. It's clearly not real. It's clearly just, perspective playing a trick on you. It's not actually curved according to this.
8. The Suez Canal, connecting the Mediterranean with the Red Sea, is 100 miles long without any locks, making the water an uninterrupted continuation of the two seas. When constructed,
there's so much proof here that I don't want to overwhelm people. I don't want to red pill people to the flat Earth reality in one video. I like people to do their own research and find the truth their own way by watching this video when they find it. I don't want to just give it spoon feed it to people. It's too easy. Then I become like a fucking cult leader, and then they're going to come back to me for other stuff anytime they have a question. And I don't want to be the god of their fantasies, I'll play a little bit more of this because I'm red pilling. It's too red pilling for me.
The Earth's supposed curvature was not taken into account. It was dug along a horizontal datum line, 26 feet below sea level, passing through several lakes from one sea to the other.
See, this is the problem with flat earthers. It's really hard to know if you're trolling or not. I'm obviously trolling. I don't actually believe in flat earth. But if someone was just listening to me right now, they wouldn't know for sure because the irony is so strong that it's no, it's not that strong. It's deadpan. I'm being very deadpan, but I'm not saying I'm not convinced. Let's keep playing this. This is a very powerful proof for the Earth not being a spinning ball. I mean, how could you negate 200 of them? That's what I'm just saying. For a lot of people, this would be a powerful thing to make them feel that their opinion is valid.
With the datum line and the water's surface running perfectly parallel over the 100 miles. 9. Engineer W. Winkler was published in the Earth Review regarding the Earth's supposed curvature, stating, as an engineer of many years standing, I saw that this absurd allowance is only permitted in school books. No engineer would dream of allowing anything of the kind. I have projected many miles of railways and many more of canals, and the allowance has not even been thought of, much less allowed for.
That's interesting.
This allowance for curvature means this, that it is 8 inches for the first mile of a canal and increasing at the ratio by the square of the distance in miles. Thus a small navigable canal for boats, say 30 miles long, will have, by the above rule, an allowance for curvature of 600 feet. Think of that, and then please credit engineers as not being quite such fools. Nothing of the sort is.
What the hell? How's that work? If it has that much of a drop in whatever curvature, how do they not engineer for it? My guess would be because it's so subtle that it is being accounted for, but in the way that things are connected, you just don't notice the very slight bending of the materials. But that's just my guess. Like with the railways, you would think that somewhere along the way there'd be a little bit of curvature that they have to engineer for, but maybe it just bends. It subtly bends, but that doesn't sound right. Steel does not bend easily, so who's tricking who here?
Loud. We no more think of allowing 600 feet for a line of 30 miles of railway or canal than of wasting our time trying to square the circle.
It is a waste of time.
The London and Northwestern Railway.
It's a waste of time to do that because you don't have to. Because if it's flat, it'd be more than a waste of time. It wouldn't work.
Forms a
It
straight
would go underground.
line 180 miles long between London and Liverpool. The railroad's highest point, midway at Birmingham Station, is only 240 feet above sea level. If the world were actually a globe, however, curving 8 inches per mile squared, the 180-mile stretch of rail would form an arc, with the center point at Birmingham raised over a mile, a full 5,400 feet above London and Liverpool.
Oh, there you go.
11. A surveyor...
This is too much information for me. It's too red... Whoever was not a flat earther before listening to this is now a flat earther, it seems. You don't have to... I'm only 10 minutes into the video. 5 minutes into the video. And it's already the most compelling thing I've ever seen. That's why for Flat Earth, at least, that's why it's off YouTube. That's why you can't get this information out easily, because it's so, it's like being exposed to it is it's like being exposed to radiation, but for ideas. And once you let that genie out of the bottle, you can't put it back in the bottle. So that's why I feel like I could get scrubbed. I could get deplatformed just for talking about this. And that's scary to me. So anyway, I think that's a good place to and then also the 5G health hazard that is in this. So this is New York Times saying that 5G is not a hazard. But come on. Think about how many G's that is. Then we go to BitChute, we have the actual information. 5G toxic tech coming to your town soon. So someone's lying. Who do you think it is? Do you trust big government? Do you trust people who say that 5G is not dangerous? Or do you trust people on this free website who would have no reason to lie to you? Why would they lie? This is just a dude named InfoSense who looks very humble. He has no reason to lie to you. So that's just something for you to think about, and I think that's a good place to wrap this up. This has been episode 21 of Scary Ideas, and I'll see you next week, everybody.
The sergeant at arms will restore order in the gallery.